Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Danny, and I'm the event planner for the New York Reactor. Before we begin, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Useful links will be shared in the chat. The session is recorded and will be available on demand in 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Which brings us to today's session. It will run for approximately 1 hour with times for questions throughout. I will now turn it over to our speakers for introductions.
Hey, welcome everyone. Great to see you for the second session in this series. Today we will talk about how to model your data. And I'm joined by Jakub. Jakub, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, Jakub Wawrzyniak from this side. I have an honor to be Microsoft Data Platform MVP.
That's cool. And myself, I'm Matthias Falland. I'm from Switzerland. I'm also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm very, very happy to deliver this session together with Jakub, and I think we will have a lot of fun and a lot of great topics and a lot of celebrations at the very beginning. You will see that in a minute. But well, hey, this is live and interactive, so we have moderators, so you can ask any questions that comes to your mind about Power BI, and they will be happy to answer all these questions. And when we present topics and you need some deeper information, and you have some notes from the field or whatever, feel free to put that in the chat. And a lot of thanks to our two moderators, Andre and Zahir. Andre is the Microsoft Data Platform and AI MVP, and Zahir is a Microsoft Fabric super user. Super users are fantastic. We will talk about super users in the Fabric community in about a minute. So, hey, Jakub, I think there is a secret.
Let's find out.
let's find out. There's a secret, and it's Hood. Oh, wow, there's a birthday, Power BI's 10th birthday. So, wow, and we have a party. So, I think in June and July, so there's like a birthday celebration, and you can join it with this QR code. Or going to ak.ms/pbi10. Bring your friends to that party. And I think there will be contests, there will be live sessions, there will be prizes, live sessions with Power BI celebrities, and wow. So a lot of party, and I will be happy to join that party, and I think it's really a good reason to celebrate. Do you remember 10 years ago Power BI, Jakub? Did you use Power BI already then, back these days?
Well, yes.
Wow.
I used it quite a lot, I would say.
Wow, yeah. But it has gone a long way since then. I think a lot of improvements and fantastic features. But I loved it from the very beginning, I remember. But still, 10 years is great. We have also more celebrations. We have a 50% discounts for the exam PL-300 and DP-600. Our session today is about PL-300, but you might be interested also in DP-600 because that's about Fabric, and Power BI is a proud member of the Fabric platform. So there are vouchers for both discounts. This offer expires on August 31, so end of August. So when you plan some summer holidays or whatever, it's time to plan the exam too, I think, because then the time is gone and the supplies are limited. Request your voucher by scanning that QR code or going to ak.ms/pbi10/cert50. And we have the next big thing. There's database contest. It kicks off on June 24th, which is not so far away, by the way. Live at AMPT, there is a review of data sets, submission details, and design tips. So basically, then you can show off your design skills in Power BI and submit your great reports. And they will explain you everything, how that works. Again, when you want to join, there's the next QR code to scan, or go to ak.ms/pbi10/dataviz. And when you want to show off all your skills, that's a great way. I already mentioned that we have moderators, and one of our moderators is a Fabric super user. Fabric super users are very, very strong members of the Power BI community and the Fabric community. So when you want to participate, you can join the Fabric community. I said already, Power BI is part of the Fabric platform. You can write blog posts, you can publish tutorials, you can publish demos, whatever you like. When you want to become a Fabric super user, or part of the Fabric super user, of course, is some kind of Power BI super user. I personally like the Fabric community a lot. I read a lot of stuff, I answer stuff there, and I think it's a very strong community. And there's more or less no day where I do not visit this Fabric community. Do you also leverage all the skills and discussions and so on from the Fabric community, Jakob?
Yes, I try to be also active in this community. There are a lot of topics that can be covered, and there is no such big thing like being in the community and having an opportunity to discuss our problems, our topics with other people that are actively working with Fabric.
Yeah, that's really cool. And getting solutions and insights, and sometimes I think I have found a solution, then I discuss it, and there's so much very, very helpful input. That's really amazing. Yeah. There's also a community conference in Europe. There's always one conference in the US and one conference in Europe. And this is the second annual Microsoft Fabric Community Conference in Europe. Last year, it happened in Stockholm. It was amazing. It was a blast. Stockholm and the conference, both really cool. This year, it's in Vienna, which I'm from Switzerland. It's pretty near from here, which is even greater because, well, hey, Vienna. And it's happening in September, 15th to 18th September, and there is a 200 euro code that you can use, so you will get a reduction on the conference pass of 200 euros. The code is FabLive, and when you want to learn more or you want to register, it's ak.ms/FC-Vienna, FC for Fabric Conference. There was also a Fabric conference in US in Las Vegas this year, which was also amazing. It was Vegas and the conference, so really cool. So hope to see you there. I will be there, and I think a lot of Fabric users and Fabric MVPs and super users from Europe will attend this conference. We are the second session in this series. There was one session about prepare data using Power BI, and today we are talking about how to model data using Power BI. You can follow us live, what you're doing now when you hear this, and you can view on demand, and there is a QR code if you want to see the session later, or there is also ak.ms/PL-300/live. The next session will be next week about visualize and analyze data using Power BI, which might be a great preparation for the DataViz contest, where you get some sneaky peek informations and hints and so on about how to do great visualizations in Power BI. So let's go over to our main topic, model your data. Well, this is part of the series about Power BI, and this series prepares you for the Power BI exam. So the Power BI exam is a PL-300. Basically, we have 3 different exams around Fabric and Power BI. There's a Power BI Data Analyst. This is specific for Power BI, and Power BI is a proud member of the Fabric platform. So there's also a DP600 Fabric Analytics Engineer exam that you can take, and a DP700 Fabrics Data Engineer. The PL-300 exam is intermediate level, and when you want to take this exam, you should have an idea, of course, about the do's and don'ts in Power BI, how to model your data, how to get your data in, how to visualize your data, and manage and secure Power BI reports and data and so on. You should also have some insights about Power Query and DAX. Today we will cover also some DAX to model your data in Power BI. As you can see regarding the content or the objective domain of the exam, so the session last week, which you can see on demand, was about prepare data using Power BI, and today we are talking about model data. Next is visualize data, and the last one then is secure and manage Power BI. All these are are covered within the exam. To some degree, you see they're most one-third, and a little bit less for the last topic, but roughly it's always about a quarter or 1/3 of the exam content. So yeah, let's have a Power BI overview, and the Power BI overview is essentially Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is a one-stop shop for everything that you need for data in Azure. It's a great platform. You need a capacity. You have different capacities from F2, a very small size capacity, up to very big size capacities, depending on your needs, depending on your data throughput, and so on. So you have Power BI as part of the Fabric, but you have so much more. You have the whole data factory for bringing in your data. You have the data engineering part for transforming your data. You have the data warehouse capabilities with all the performance benefits. You have data science with machine learning, modeling, and so on. And you have real-time analytics, which means that your data is flowing in real time in Fabric, which is kind of amazing. And you can apply even reporting and all that stuff in real time. Serving all that capabilities is one lake. That's a storage engine in Fabric. There is one lake. It's like, well, it's lying in the name per tenant. So you can have different Fabric capacities, but always one lake. And the one lake is structured in workspaces. And when you have used Power BI service, then you are very familiar with the concept of workspaces, and you will feel like being at home when you first open Fabric. So when you are coming from the Power BI area and you didn't touch Fabric up to now, I warmly recommend that you try out Fabric. You can simply create a trial for Fabric for 60 days and get a little bit around, get some ideas how powerful it is and what fantastic stuff you can do with Microsoft Fabric. So, well, it's a unified data platform, and it's a data platform for the era of AI, by the way. Right. Power BI itself has kind of different flavors. Very, very prominent is the Power BI desktop tool. So you can run Power BI on your desktop as an application, and you can analyze your data on your desktop with Power BI, a little bit like as you can do it with Microsoft Excel, but you cannot edit your data. You have much more ways to transform and visualize your data. On the data source side, you are very flexible. Power BI can leverage almost any data connector to get your data out. It's amazing. It's groundbreaking and to some degrees, because you can always say, yeah, it works. And that's the truth. And when you want to publish your report, you can publish it to Power BI service. You can publish it to your Fabric, and then you can share it, or you can consume it on your mobile device for on-the-go analysis. So it's going down to tablet, but also to to phone, and I think even to watch. So it's very, very capable, and you can do analysis more or less at your fingertips. The desktop is a free application. The Power BI service is a SaaS offering. Microsoft Fabric is also a SaaS offering with even more capabilities than Power BI service. When you want to share your reports, you will need some service backends like Power BI service or Microsoft Fabric. So last time you have learned how to get your data into Power BI. This time we will talk a little bit about how to model your data with Power BI or for analytics. So, well, this is looking like a star, and it is. It's called a star schema. So basically, all your data that you bring in for analytics need to be modeled in a star schema to be useful and to be well fitted for the capabilities of Power BI and also for Fabric. The star schema means that you have a dimension tables, and in the middle you have the fact tables. So this is like a fundamental mindset shift that you need to do. So you don't think in big flat tables like Excel, but you think in star schemas, and you think in structured tables, right? So you will not load everything in just flat tables, but you will separate the data into fact and dimension tables. This improves for you performance, it improves clarity, and improves scalability. So this is how modern data warehouses are built. And when you just started with Power BI, it can be a challenge, right? So in my experience, people that just started with Power BI, they simply load the data in, and then you realize over time that a flat big table is not so handy and doesn't work so well. And then just think about the star schema, bring your dimensions. So basically the fact table is the stuff that you can aggregate, and the dimension table are the dimensions that explains the fact. So this is, I think, very critical. Jakub, did you also have the experience that this is like a very important step when you get started with Power BI?
Yes, exactly. So one thing here also, we should be aware that Power BI is natively created to support this star schema, so those fact tables and supporting dimension tables. And this is created mostly based upon the methodology of star schema modeling, multidimensional modeling. If you want to know more about it, then I will urge you to seek for information about the Ralph Kimball and his methodology. And there are a lot of books that cover these topics. Yes, we need to also know that this approach is very efficient in terms of processing the data by using in-memory processing. So this is all about this approach here. And definitely, Matthias, this is one of the most important steps during the process of data modeling and preparing our model to be used in the reports. If we do anything, so to say, stupid or maybe not good here, then unfortunately we will have problems in proper modeling designing our reports and using our model in an efficient way.
Yeah, completely agree. So it might work for the first steps in Power BI, but when you try to do a little bit more typical stuff in reporting, you will really fail when you don't do this star schema. Completely agree. Yeah.
Well, you need to do this shift in your mind that we are not operating on the typical entity relationship like in OLTP systems. This is definitely analytical approach here.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah. There is also some kind of minor stuff, right? Because, well, you get some data in, and mostly you have to clean it up, and you have to format it properly. You have to assign the proper metadata framing, and all these are the properties here, right? So, for example, assigning the correct data types. When you have numbers in the column, then you have to assign it. Power BI will do its best to do it automatically. But especially when the data is not really cleaned up already, Power BI will obviously fail, because there are not only numbers in a column, but there should be only numbers. So first off, you have to clean that up, and then you can assign the proper data type. You can also adjust the summarization settings. These affect visuals. Right, so for example, you often it is set to sum, but of course not all numbers make sense to sum. Right, think about an ID, or think about unit prices, or something like that. So you can, for example, change that to average, or something more meaningful for that special case. You also have to set the proper column formats. So, for example, percent in my area is a very common case that you want to format in a proper way. Of course, you can very often do that at the specific visual or table, but then you have to do it a dozen times, and sometimes you will forget or whatever. So you can do it right on the properties layer, and do it right once. Also, descriptions are very helpful. In my experiences, everything is more or less clear when you do it. But when you look at the same data model 9 or 12 months later, it's not so clear anymore. And sometimes you look at the data model and think, okay, cool, that's really cool. Who did that? Oh, I did that. Okay. And then you have to rethink everything. So it's really worthy to add descriptions, even when they are short. Sometimes you can leverage AI to help you on that, and sometimes it's easier just to type in what's important for you in that moment. So as better as your basic configuration is, it's similar to the star schema, as better and as faster you can move on later when producing the report. Said that, it's for us, it's very typical that you spend 70 or even 80% of your time in cleaning up data, formatting data, connecting data properly, transforming data, and around, I don't know, 20 or 30% on the nice visualizations and the great histograms and charts and cards and whatever. This is the visual stuff that is really fun, but without proper configuration and proper data transformation, the visualization will most likely be not as easy as you think.
So do not postpone it. Do it step by step, and be aware that everything you do here will be important, especially with creating measures with DAX language. Because if anything will be wrong in terms of the types, in terms of the summarization settings, for example, as Matthias said, that there may be facts that in the logic, in the business logic, may not be additive and should be treated in a different way, then you will have problems in getting proper business values from working with your measures. The same thing talking about the relationships and defining the relationships between the objects in the model. This is really important. What we can see here and what we can observe is that in this example, between date and orders, we have two relationships. One is active, and the other one is, for the time being, is disconnected, let's say. But we can switch between those relationships dynamically using DAX.
Yeah, so it's like an active and an paused or inactive but designed relationship, and that's a really great hint that you can switch with them with DAX between these both, and that's really helpful. DAX anyway is fantastic, to be honest. Yeah.
You can have many relationships between objects,
yeah.
but you can dynamically use them and switch if you need in terms of the context, in terms of the given measure that you want to calculate.
Yeah, absolutely agree. You also can define whether you have a one-to-one or one-to-many relationship that affects then filters and joins, and you can configure how the cross-filter direction works, how the filtering flows across the table, if it's just single or if it works in both directions. And I think it's also helpful when you plan to take the exam that you are able to interpret screenshots like that, so that you see that there's an active and there's an inactive relationship and so
on. Yes, and it tells us more about those cross-filter determines how filter flow between tables. So it's the different behavior. We'll get the different behavior when we get the different type of the cross-filtering between the tables. That's something you should check by yourself to know to have this feeling how it works. And well, it's pretty obvious when you work with the data and when you have the simple star schema of one fact table and several dimension tables. But we know the life can be challenging, and we can have more complex models with several fact tables connected and creating more complicated modeling, more complicated business scenarios here. Talking about the relationships, we should also point out that the cardinality is very important here. So we'll have the cardinality of one-to-one connections between relations between the objects. We will have one-to-many and many-to-many, what is very important and may be surprising for new Power BI users, because years and years before we needed to create some synthetic connections between objects to simulate the many-to-many relationship. And now, for a few years, I would say, Matthias, yes? Am I right? We have this many-to-many relationship between two objects created directly in this managed relationship window in Power BI.
Yeah, that's really cool. There can be also the need to create a common date table. So you can refer from anywhere to one date table. And as you can see, it can help. We see here month and quarter and date and day of week and so on. So how does it help, Jakob?
Well, you should be aware that modeling data and working with data in Power BI is about telling the story about the data.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the data, and when we talk tell this story about our business data, we'll probably need some kind of time-specific idea here.
Yeah.
And this is why we have this common date table. This date table and defining this date table in our model is very important if we want to use any time intelligence functions, and when we want them to work properly, so to calculate properly the measures in terms of let's say sales and sales year to date, year over year, etc. So regarding the business needs, we'll have a lot of specific scenarios that take use of this time traveling, and the step of defining our the common date table is very important here. If we do not do it directly in our model, then Power BI will try to simulate it in a way, let's say, so to create a kind of synthetic common date table. But it is better in terms of performance, and it is better in terms of approach to have our own date table in the model created by us even if we do it in a synthetic way. So maybe we do not need to have this data table in our data warehouse. We can do it in a synthetic way. We can calculate it and calculate the values directly in Power BI in our model.
Yeah, completely agree. When you have it in your data source, it's absolutely fine to use it, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's even better, but as I said, it is not necessary. So we have this opportunity to do it in a different way. But yes, if we have it in our data, it's even better to do it in such a way.
Yeah, yeah. So when we follow the star schema and when we define proper relationships and proper data types and create the common date table, I think we are then ready to create like more hardcore or more advanced calculations using DAX, which is kind of a programming language. I think you are a master in DAX, aren't you?
Well, I would not say master in DAX, but I use it. I use it a lot in my work. So let's say I'm aware of how it works and what is it for. You should know that DAX is data analysis expressions. It's a language that we use to create formulas in Power BI, and those formulas, those measures, can be used to calculate values on the fly. So the main concept here is that if we want to calculate something in a let's say static way that can be written in our data, then we should do it step before. So we should do it in the step when we load and we transform and prepare our data. But for the business purpose, we will have in our model several measures, typically several measures that can be calculated in terms of any context or using time intelligence functions. So we can have, for example, those sales or total sales or sales by region, several measures that should be calculated using this business context of the data. So to do it in a way that it will work dynamically on the fly, we will use DAX here. And you can see that DAX is it's similar to I would say to creating formulas in Excel or in other languages that are used for analytical purposes. What is important also that the DAX can be extended. It's a kind of library of functions and operators that we have, starting from very simple like sum, average, for more sophisticated like sum x, when we can use also any more complicated formula or expression to calculate our measure. We can create those measures by using several contexts, and if we want, we can force the context. So we can create a measure that will work in a way that we want them to work. So we can, for example, use this sum of sales in terms of very specific month or range of the dates that we want to be included in during the calculating of these measures. DAX is very helpful and very important tool language here in Power BI, but you should do it in I would say very reasonable way. So in terms of creating model that will work will perform well, you should be aware that creating complicated DAX measures can be a problem here. So what kind of advice can I say here is that maybe not related to those simple measures, but when we want to create something more sophisticated, then test it, and again test it when you do it. against a range of data and then against the whole model, because you should be aware how you measure works. DAX can be used to create formulas, to create measures, to create also and to calculate columns and whole tables. And we can use it, for example, to create this common date table. The whole table can be created dynamically using DAX, ready functions and operators that are here. And there are also calculation groups, and we will talk about it a bit later. Starting with those basic measures, we'll have typically we'll have business-related measures like, as you can see in this example, sales margin, percentage of margin, sales amount, total quantity, and the number of customers, countries, states. Anything we want to do, we can do it in very simple way. As I said, it is computed on the fly. It is not stored in the data model, so the metadata of the measure is stored, but the value is computed on the fly. And what is also important here, when we put the given measure on our visual, it is responsible to interactions. So if we have this report dashboard in Power BI, when we click something, when we use the drill through or drill in, then any measure can be responsive to any interaction on the report page. The definition is very simple. It starts with the name of the measure, then we have the equal sign, and then we have the formula, typically function name and specific context, etc. Matthias, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, so I love DAX a lot. I think it's so that the fact that it's being calculated on the fly is a real benefit because it's interactive, it's touchy, it's snappy. But on the other hand, as you pointed out, when you use it and you add something, you add something here and so on, all the processing needs to happen on top and needs to happen at interactions, so the thing will get slower and slower. And also on the other side, DAX, at the first look, it looks very intuitive and a lot like Excel, but I think there are some quite advanced functions that you need to get used to. And I think there's also help, so you can use, if you have a Fabric instance, for example, you can use Copilot to help you creating DAX formulas, which I think is a big benefit also for learning that thing when you are more on the beginner side and not so proficient and haven't used DAX for all that years. So yeah, I think it's a really cool language, but there are also some things that you have to take care of. Completely agree.
Definitely. So we know how to create basic measures with DAX, and how to do it when we want to, let's say, force a context for our measure. That's the situation I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
We can adjust how our measure is interpreted and how it works by adding, for example, those calculate function, and then having this sum of sales total price and giving the context that it should be calculated for year equal to 2020 2025. And this is the way we can use and we can extend our measures to build much more sophisticated context. Of course, we can extend it even more. We can create any if-then case situation here. It depends on the business value and on the business needs that we want to achieve within our model. But please be aware that the more complicated measures, the more complicated model, the less performant it can be.
Jakob, when we have a look at that slide, I think there is a nice typo in there, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. So that would be worth to mention that you can do this date adjustment dynamically, because most probably you want to point it maybe for the current year or something like that. So that would be like of best practice in that case. So when you do that, this will not happen. Basically, it will adjust. So then there would be also total sales for 2025.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's funny.
Okay, talking about DAX, we should also mention that this time intelligence and additivity of the measures. So, as we said earlier, having the common date table is very important if we want to use those time intelligent functions, and time intelligent functions are present in DAX. We can have several functions here. These functions are like total year to date, same period last year, dates MTD. These are typical functions used in typical business contexts, and to have the opportunity to use it in our definitions of our measures, we need to have the properly working time intelligence. So the properly configured date table is very important here. The other thing is that, as we said, there are several contexts, business values, business measures that may be not additive or can be semi-additive here. For example, like the balance, maybe it should be evaluated at a point in time, but not summed in terms of the very simple summing here. Of course, we can use it. We can create such measures, such calculations with DAX as well. Using DAX and going deep into the possibilities of DAX will take us much more hours. But I think we will urge you to do it on your own. You should be aware that the DAX is present in the PL-300, and using DAX is tested in the PL-300. But please do not be scared. You do not need to know the internals of working of each function, but there is a set of typical functions like those time intelligent functions that should be known by a candidate that is trying to pass the PL-300 exam.
And you don't have to write DAX. You will get written DAX, and you have to interpret it. It's, I think,
exactly.
also helpful. Yeah.
Exactly. That's another example of time intelligence and using those context in terms of total year to date. As you can observe, we can calculate the revenue of year to date using our date from the date table, and limiting it up to the end of the June. Calculation groups are very well. We can say that's a game changer because when we create our data model, it can easily start to be very, how to say, crowded with similar measures like sales year to date, quarter to date, month to date, etc. So instead of creating those separate measures for each variation of the time intelligence function, we can define a single calculation group, and that calculation group can apply logic dynamically across multiple base measures. So that's something I would say quite new in the Power BI. We haven't seen it before, but using it is very efficient and is very, very simple. And that leads us to the step of optimizing model performance. We've mentioned this model performance several times because it's important. Matthias, what do you think? Do we want to have well-performing models or not?
No, I really like. Well, I chose to go into IT because of the waiting time. It's great. You can grab a coffee. You can have a nice chat with your colleague. Yeah, of course, we all want great performance models, and we want information at one click. And so I think that's an ongoing topic, right? So you start and everything is snappy, and you work 2 or 3 years with that report, and at some point nothing is snappy anymore, and then you have to go through that stuff and clean it up and so on. I think that's very common procedure, isn't it?
That's right. We have two things here. The first one is we want to have our business user to be happy by using our report. So to have this, this opportunity and this feeling of clicking and having fast working report. And the other thing is to utilize our resources in an efficient way, especially when we are talking about the cloud resources and cloud environments like Microsoft Fabric or Microsoft Power BI as a part of the Fabric ecosystem. So what we want to do, and what is idea here is we want to have this well optimized semantic model. We want to have our model that is reducing the memory usage. So we do not want to use more memory that is not necessarily needed for a given model. So to do it, we should specifically be aware of the size of the model. We should be aware of the columns or say attributes that we have in our objects in the model. So if they are not necessary for the business context, for the business model, then do not use it. Simply delete it or do not show it in the model, because you want to save memory, you want to save resources. The other thing is usage of the DAX and monitoring of the DAX measures. That's something we've mentioned before. The other thing is choosing the right storage mode. In Power BI, we have several storage modes. We have this import mode that kind of materializes our model in the memory, which is very important, specifically in terms of using Power BI, the old version Power BI Premium, and now we will have Microsoft Fabric and Fabric capacities here. So if we have this limited space, for example, up to 25 gigabytes of memory that can be used, and up to let's say 10 gigabytes of memory for a given model that can be used in our resources, then it is important to know how to use it. If we have much more data that we want to analyze to show in our reports, then probably we will switch to the direct query mode to have this up-to-date data to let's say put much more effort of this on the background operations, so not to use Power BI resources here. We also have a kind of connection between the import and direct query mode that's called composite mode. So we can create models, Power BI models that can use, for example, a part of the objects can be important and the part of the objects can be connected with direct query. Of course, it has some kind of limitations here. And what is also important here, but not mentioned in on the slide, if we are using Microsoft Fabric, we'll have the fourth mode, storage mode that is possible here. It's called Direct Lake. If you are interested, then we will urge you to read about the Direct Lake approach here, because it has benefits of import and direct query in a short way. But yes, what do you think?
Yeah, completely agree. I think there was always a hard choice between import and direct query, and for performance reasons, of course, the hardest on the import side, but There are reasons, for example, compliance or auditing reasons where you need direct query. And I think direct lake is a very, very good idea, because you like get the best of both worlds, and you get high performance, and still the model stays small and clean. So I would definitely go, if possible, with direct lake. But there are reasons to go with import, and there are reasons for direct query, of course, still.
Definitely. We have also some kind of, as said, low effort, high impact optimization techniques that can be used. So the first one is choosing the right storage mode, what we are talking about. The second one is removing unnecessary rows and columns to reduce the model size. And you can do it, you can analyze it with Power BI and with a kind of external tools, and we'll talk about it in a minute. The third one is using the performance analyzer and DAX query view to find bottlenecks, to find what is working well and what not. The fourth one is reducing the granularity of the data. So if you want to show aggregated values, then we can have it pre-calculated. We do not need the specific lines of business or the rows to be present in our model, and we can save space, save memory here. And of course, optimization of the model for report authors and consumers.
Yeah, completely agree. So there's a lot of renaming, and you have often like old data that you don't really need, but you just import it, and okay, just in case, but still you often need 5 years back or so, and not 20 years back. And depending on the source systems, there are a lot of queries for ERP tools or something like that. So there's really big tables, and it's a wise choice to select the proper ones. They have even sometimes duplicated values in. Yeah,
definitely. You should be aware that we have several tools to monitor our performance, the performance of our models. Some of them are present in Power BI, like Performance Analyzer, when we can track the duration of loading of each step by refreshing the, for example, visualizations on our report. Then we have this DAX query view, and we also have external tools like DAX Studio, Tabular Editor, called Best Practice Analyzer, because it says us also what are the best practices and what we can do to save space in our model, or Bravo for Power BI. Regarding the PL-300, you should know and you should be aware of the Performance Analyzer and DAX Query View, because the external tools are not, the knowledge about the external tools is not tested, but it is important in terms of working with data modeling in Power BI. And that leads us to quick tips for passing your exam here. So what can we say about PL-300 and how one should be prepared, and what we can do to prepare for the exam? The first thing is hands-on practice. Nothing works better like hands-on practice. You'll have several materials present in Microsoft Learn. What is also, I would say, useful in terms of knowing the possibilities of Power BI, and I will urge you to know it. It's a concept called Power BI Dashboard in a Day. When we have a set of very good materials that can be used to create your own model from scratch, and you will finalize with a report, with a dashboard that can be published in the Power BI service. You have also study guides and resources. You have a kind of practice tests that are present on the Learn that can give you this feeling of what questions can arise during the PL-300. Microsoft Learn is very has very broad resources and very, very helpful resources here. And of course, there are several sample projects and let's say, open source materials created by community members that you can also use here. Matthias, what are your remarks here?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is get hands-on. So I think it's hard or almost impossible to pass an exam without having hands-on with that product, because you will see screenshots, you will be asked best practice ways how to do something, and it doesn't even make sense at all to take an exam on a product that you didn't have some hands-on time with. So I think that's really important. I think there were also pasted some links to practice tests on Learn in the chat right now. So I think that's really helpful too, because when it's your first exam, it's how will the questions look like, and are they very detailed or not? And so you get an idea. These are of course not the questions from the exam, but they are like similar to the exam, and I think that's also very, very helpful. I personally completely are in with this dashboard in a day. I think that's really cool because it's fun. It's not too long. You have a result that you can show off. You learn something, and it's also kind of easy to follow, and it's not too much repetitive stuff, right? Of course, sometimes you have to do things 3 times for 3 different columns, but it's not like do that 20 times for 20 columns. So I think it's a lot of fun. You can repeat it, you can refer back, you can learn from that stuff, and then jump over to Microsoft Learn. I think that's really, really good hint. Yeah, completely in.
Yeah, exactly. And what else? You can't miss opportunities here. Remember, we have this 10th Power BI birthday party. We have this discount for PL-300 and the DP-600. You can become a Fabric super user, and you can take a part of the Data Viz contest. So please refer to those links. Please engage, please be active as a community member, and if you do not know something, you can ask. There will definitely be someone that has answer to your questions.
Yeah, and let's celebrate the birthday. So
and let's celebrate the birthday.
Yeah, so it's 10 years, and well, there are much more years to come. Power BI is getting greater and greater, and with the foundation of Fabric, I think there's endless possibilities. So, and I think the link to dashboard in a day was also posted in the chat, so everybody can follow up there.
And we'd like also to invite you to next session about the visualization and analyzing of data using Power BI. It will be next week, and yeah, get certified. Try to pass this PL-300. Fingers crossed. And if you have any questions, we still have some time to answer.
Yes, I think the questions are still open, and there's a lot of preparation material that you can follow up with. There's, I think, more material that anybody can really go through. There's so much, and so you can also take your journey, right? You can go read stuff, you can do stuff, you can watch videos like ours, for example, or the next one. So there are different learning types, and you can just follow your path. It's really cool, and it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, and thanks again to our moderators.
Yeah, huge thanks. Yeah, and also for Danny for hosting us, and well, thanks for making Power BI to all these developers. So, and thanks for attending, and have a great day or evening or wherever you are, and enjoy. Take care.
Have a great day. Let us know if you pass.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.